Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited about this one here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the only platform where all music and wrestling matters here, Sportzwire Radio, because this man here is about to, well, let's just say, show us why we're about to have our cage rattled. He's going to show us why a rock shock cowboy has got some music that's going to demolition the hard rock and the heavy metal world here coming up. And we're going to also talk about maybe the past. We're also going to talk about the future. We're also going to talk about that Metal Hall of Fame induction and plus who knows whatever else, but certainly get you ready for one of my premier albums of 2025. And everyone's thinking about Christmas wish list and holiday gifts. We got something for you. I'm going to be plugging here throughout the next 45 minutes to an hour. And we're going to talk about this man's journey. We're going to talk about this man's career. And maybe he'll cycle to somewhere else. Maybe he'll cycle to here nor there. And we'll catch up on memory lane. And I know that our guest has done a bunch of these. And I know that the front man of his band has his own show, the Talk Louder podcast, which I've gotten a chance to listen to throughout in the last year or so. But I like to give my guest an introduction that they'll hopefully remember and want to come back on here. Now, I'm not going to compete for Mr. McMaster's job, that's for sure. But I'm going to certainly give our guest an introduction that he most certainly deserves as truly a part of a band that is one of the all-time greats to have come out of the great state of Texas, the Lone Star State, and is now a Hall of Fame band. Yeah, not too often we get Hall of Famers on here, but now we got that. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great honor to introduce this man and start the show off here in style on Sportswire Radio, the number one level radio station where all music and wrestling matters. So with that, without further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one global sports show. A man that is one of the premier bands he's been a part of since the very beginning for nearly 40 years, still kicking butts, not only in Texas, but across the USA and behind. His name is simply put, the guitarist from the band Dangerous Toys, Scott Dalhover. My friend, how are we doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for that nice intro.
Yeah, I figured I'd do a little different. I just had on two ex-WWE wrestlers. This one guy, Raven, another guy, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell. And Jumpin' Jim Brunzell was like, we're not doing the intro. We weren't doing it. And then Raven was like, yeah, we're not. But Mark Farner and some of the bands you've actually toured with, Phil Lewis of LA Guns, seem to have liked the intro. So I had to
Sure,
give
man.
it to you. And it's good to be with you. And thank you for all you've done for the music industry. Thank you for all that you've done for hard rock and heavy metal. And thank you for giving me an opportunity to come here and talk about what we're going to hear next week in some new music.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me.
You got it. And Scott, I got to kick things off then. We'll go right into it. And especially for those that are listening and watching here in prime time on the brightest lights, the biggest stage, the platform that you, Dangerous Toys, and Cleopatra Records most certainly helped build, Sportswire Radio. Talk to me about new music coming out finally and two new singles that we've gotten a chance to hear off the album Demolition, Rock Shock Cowboy, and Rattle My Cage.
Yeah. So this Demolition album is, uh, songs from my monitor is going weird. Songs from the past, demos of songs that you know after before Hellacious, after Hellacious, before our records after Cleopatra, we've had a slew, just massive amounts of demos because we would, basically we would come in the rehearsal every day, fire up the 4-track, and just start writing. Or I would come with riffs, Jason would come with an idea, and so we have it as from the Three Amigos, as El Guapo would say, we have a plethora of unused demos or unheard demos, and we thought, man, these things are just going to waste here. What are we going to do? So, oh man, I did something with my monitors. Oh, that's you. Okay.
Yeah, I actually we're gonna put some links throughout the
Okay.
show so people can go actually buy the music
Oh, awesome.
and promote the band. Yeah, I like to do that,
Yeah.
and there it is. Yeah, I mean, I heard 70 up to 70 songs that you have demoed that could be out there.
Oh, there's more than that. Um, but some of them, are literally we'd throw a boom box and record ideas onto a cassette. So things are some things that we did in the studio, some things that we did um, on a 4-track, some things we did on a boom box, or we have various. So the standards of quality go from one way to the next. But being fans of things like that, also in the band, like I listened to some stuff from Van Halen from like 77, 76, recorded on a boom box in somebody's backyard at a party. I don't care how I just want to hear it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No question. I think in music, right, the best thing sometimes is the imperfections. I think that's what's so great about music.
It's, the heart comes through. I don't care if you're at Sound City where we recorded our first album, or the Village. I don't care if wherever you're at. It's the heart of the music that comes through, and the fun and the excitement, more so than, hey man, check it out, a half dB less on that hi hat, and that'd be just so killer a mix. Fuck all that shit, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm listening to Hell's Bells or I'm the One or whatever it is. I'm just trying to groove and have a good time with the music, and it's a bonus to have good guitar tones and all that stuff. But
sure.
when you're talking about these old demos or catching something that was rare and in the moment, I'm just glad to hear it, no matter who it's from.
For sure. I mean, and the fans want to hear music from you. I mean, the fans, you guys go out and tour.
I get paraded all the time because I started talking in 2017. I'd already written 45 new songs for this album that's coming out already.
Well, if it makes you feel better, if it makes you feel any better, I had on Randy Jackson of Zebra at the beginning of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And Zebra, right, has not put out any new music since 2003. And prior to that was Zebra 3, which was 1986. So at least you aren't as bad as Zebra. And Zebra is going to finally put out their new album early next year. And they haven't put one out in 23 years. They've done 2 and now going to be 40 years. So if it makes you feel better, Randy Jackson, I mean, he's got those fans that have just been parading him, and they just played, I think, something like 50 or 60 shows this past year. So, at least you don't have to have that on your back.
Well, I'll be pre-ordering that album.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, I'm excited about that. But I think the fans, but the 2 songs. Yeah.
I still remember hearing Who's Behind the Door. And
oh my God. Yeah.
I love those guys.
They're a great band. Yeah, great band. And they just played here right before Thanksgiving. But, going back to you guys and Demolition, I am fired up because I love Rock Shock Cowboy and Rattle My Cage. And that gives me that feeling that we're going right back to this. This is the proper follow-up to Hellacious Acres. This, to me, is that proper follow-up.
And if you think that is, wait till you hear the studio album.
And by the way, December 12th, Demolition comes out.
Yep.
The link, I'm going to put that right back up. You need to go out there. Like I said, holiday gifts are out there. I'm going to do this here because it's the holiday season. If there's somebody out there that wants the album, I will personally buy you that copy. If you don't have the $20 or whatever it is, I will take care of you because it's the holiday season and I've heard these 2 songs and I think a lot more people are going to hear these songs and you got to get it and I'll take care of the people because it's the holiday season.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah, there you go. It's exciting. It's exciting, the music. And I feel like, when I heard the first 2 songs that are out as singles, and again, Cleopatra Records is where you're going to go buy the record. I feel like it takes me back sonically to that. Was there pressure maybe, Scott, to change it sonically, or anything that maybe the band or anyone else wanted it to sound, let's say, like today, or anything different from when those songs were demoed back in the early 90s?
Oh, I'm trying. Do you mean the album that's forthcoming, or do you mean the new?
Correct. The album that's forthcoming with those
Well,
songs
the
that are
new
coming
album
out.
that's forthcoming. Nobody tells us what to do. They never have. We just do what we want. And you know, I really don't know how to answer that. I mean,
Because some bands I get on, there's always been the challenge sometimes, commercially, we
and
got to have it
here's
sound one way, and the label says you got to have it
well,
this way, you know what I'm saying.
that's part of the reason Columbia paid us a lot of money to go away. It- because the grunge thing had hit, and that was what was hot. You
Yeah,
know, but we're still, you know, we don't follow trends. We'll buck things and do what we want to do, whether you consider it. Well, I actually think that the album formerly known as, I think that was before its time, because we were sitting around one day and we just started writing songs, and those were the songs that came out. And it was more of an
right,
industrial kind of thing that you hear now or 5 years ago, and that was back in the '90s. So
right.
um, nobody really tells us. They tried. I remember, um, you know, when you're dealing with record labels, especially in the old Cleopatra, they're mellow. I'm friends with the owners, and
Yes, Brian. Big shout out to Brian, and
Brian and
obviously and
Max,
Dave
those
Thompson, who just
guys.
came on my show.
Yep,
I
yep,
mean, Cleopatra's been awesome.
yeah, and dude, they're look at their label. They're fans as well. They're
Absolutely.
putting out Pat Travers and L.A. Guns and a bunch of other bands from
David Elfson's on there with
all of it,
the Kings
all
of
of it.
Thrash. Yep.
So, but in the old days, you get some Columbia guys that can come down and nose around. Nobody ever came during the first record. I saw not one rep, not one. It was just Max and us and our rep from our publishing company, Celine, just because she was a great person, would want to come down, and our management, and we just did what we wanted to do. So when that first record was a success, and the videos going to number one on MTV,
Teasing and pleasing and
yeah,
scared. Yep.
yep, and you know the record was rolling up the charts really quickly. We're selling 70,000 records a week. All of a sudden, they take notice. So the second record, then they're coming around the studio and making suggestions, and I'm trying not to punch them in the face, and just being mellow. Listen to what my manager said. Let them come in and say what they want, and they come in and say what they want. We fucking ignore them. So, and that's how you get a record made.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's that thing? Too many cooks ruin the
Yeah,
broth.
too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, too many cooks in
Yeah,
the
man,
kitchen.
we
Yep.
don't need it, man.
But the other line is there's there's too many cowboys and Indians. That's what the
and
other line people would say.
and and if those people could, being able to judge and see talent is different than being having the talent to do so. So
Sure. Yeah.
if those folks could write a number one hit, number one record, or whatever, they'd be doing that instead of wandering around the studio wondering what we're doing. So,
Absolutely. No, listen, you guys, and I
all that
remember.
said, I still love most of those people at Columbia. Most.
But I'm gonna make you laugh. Hopefully, when I was a kid, and I remember, I was a little kid. I mean, this is way after the albums came out, but it was Hellacious Acres, and I remember in my parents' CD collection, they had Hellacious Acres, and I looked
Oh,
at the cover, and I was like, I wound up listening to it, and I was hooked, and I was like, whatever happened to this band? And then you guys have kind of had this comeback these last several years, and here we are, here we are today, and I think that maybe with these new songs coming out, based on the response, I think there's like 14 or 15,000 views for Rock Shock Cowboy on YouTube. I think there's going to be a lot more newer people that are going to maybe get attracted to the band's music.
well, I see that. Um, I get messages from much younger musicians all the time. I'm talking like I'll get a message and I'm looking. I'm like, man, this kid is like 16 and he knows the toys records inside and out. He's sending me not just one kid. I mean, I get this from other folks as well, but the younger generation, there's a lot of them that want to play guitar, play drums, sing, have a band, and just like I was when I started, I was like looking at ZZ Top, going, "Holy hell, who are these guys?" Zeppelin, these guys are killer, and these
Yeah,
for my
absolutely.
for my time, even though I'm ancient now. I remember seeing the Who and watching uh, the Kids Are All Right and all that stuff, and that just blew my mind, made me want to do it. Just like recently we were talking about Ace passing, and
Yeah.
that was the guy that made me want to get in a band. That was the first band I ever saw. I got on a bus, a 15-hour bus ride to Lubbock, Texas, from Killeen, Texas, and I went and saw him, and just blew my mind. That made me want to be in a band, you know. But I'm seeing younger and younger people in the audiences, people in their teens and early 20s, and some are brought by their parents, but a majority of them are just showing up, which is insane, insane to
Well, I
me.
think we want to have rock music, and I think right now the music scene, it's kind of in a weird place. I mean, I've talked a lot about this in the wrestling world, where I get a lot of these ex WWE guys that come on here and they feel a certain way, and I guess maybe there's a void right now in music, and especially in rock music. How do you feel about today's scene right now in hard rock and heavy metal?
It's just like always. There's good stuff and there's not so good stuff, and there's some derivative stuff, and there's a lot of fake stuff. And by fake, I mean you're on the advent of AI, uh, and that's cool. I mean, AI can be used for lots of really cool things. Um, but it's kind of like I wish I'd had YouTube when I think I wish I'd had YouTube as a kid growing up, but instead I had a record player that I would slow down with my thumb, or as fast like however, to learn to play guitar instead of
Right.
spoon fed. And sometimes I think it's the old man in me. I'm like,
Well, I remember what one of the things that I did was when I was attempting to play instruments. Now, my mom sings, my brother plays drums in a band here where I live locally, and one of the things was always put the CD in the CD player and try to mimic the chords, mimic the riff, and then eventually, if you get lucky by ear, you could play off it because I could never read music. I gave up after like 2 days. When I
well,
took guitar lessons, I wasn't reading music. I gave up on that.
I started playing trombone in sixth grade all the way through being a senior in high school and quitting because the band director is a prick. I can chart and read both bass and treble clef and write it out, um, but I don't do that in toys. Not to write songs. I just play my guitar, and I can hear it in my head. It's always been I can hear it in my head, and I just transfer it to my hands, or I'm just messing around and I stumble onto something and go, you know what? I'm going to make something out of this. I never once sat down and charted this out and say, okay, man, let's see. I'm going to chart this out in E minor. Never. I don't do, and same thing with solos and stuff. I know the modes, I know the scales, obviously, and all that stuff. I don't think about it. It's
Right.
it's just whatever sounds or whatever's happening at the moment to come out. And
Well,
I see a lot of people now that you can tell where some of the people on YouTube that learn from YouTube or whatever, they adapt it and make it their own. And then there are folks that um, write music or play guitar or piano, whatever it is, clarinet, that they're a little too derivative and they haven't had to sweat it out and work and really get their hands dirty and spend time to
I
really
think the word I heard was feel. They don't have that feel yet in
some of them
terms of.
have a yeah, it could be that, but technique doesn't mean feel, and a lack of uh, a lack of technique doesn't mean you have no feeling. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I totally
Skills and
do,
technique,
and obviously we're very honored to
you
have on
gotta
Mister
flip that
Dal
different.
Dal. Well, very honored to have on Mr. Dalhover here. Of course, he is the guitarist from Dangerous Toys, and Dangerous Toys has got a new album coming out here, which will be out next week. It'll actually be out next Friday. They have
Yep.
two singles out from the album Demolition. You gotta go listen to them. They're on YouTube, also via the Cleopatra Records website. They are called Rock Shock Cowboy and Rattle My Cage, and we're rattling people's cages here tonight. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all music and wrestling matters. Please follow Dangerous Toys on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Also, check out the Cleopatra Records website. And we are here with Scott. I wanted to ask you also, you guys have a gig coming up already. We're back in April. We're playing here in a few months at the Monsters of Rock Cruise. I know you guys have done this a few different times in the past, but I'm going to put it up on the screen and talk to me about that. And will there be other dates in 2026? Will we
Yeah.
see more Dangerous Toys? And maybe you come up my way for a change in New York.
Well, yeah, yeah. There's more dates coming. We don't release them quite yet, but we're playing the cruise. We're playing, you know, Monsters on the Mountain and all that stuff. And
Yes.
um, it's the cruise is a great thing. It's basically every a ton and ton. It's a chance to see tons and tons of bands,
Yep.
and
It's like Rocklahoma. It's like now
oh,
Chris
it's even
Jericho has
better.
his
It's
cruise
even
now. It's
better
awesome.
because
Yeah.
there's and I like Rocklahoma. It's nothing against them. It's just
Yep.
you've just got a slew of bands, more bands than you can have in a 1 or 2 day because you're on the boat for 5 days. So you can go see bands twice if you want, or you can go and see one show here, one show there, and you can go from band to band to band to band, and it's all day. It's all day, and then when you're tired of that, you can go have some weird food at the cruise. There was a really good pizza place and a really good sushi and a really good steakhouse on the last boat. This boat I haven't been on, so I don't know yet. So I'll give you my review when I come back. Um,
Okay. Well, that would be good. I mean, I,
but
I think that.
it's a fun time. All your friends are there. You'll make new friends. You can get on that boat not knowing anybody. By the time you get off, you've got 20, 30 new friends, new concert buddies, and it's great. And um, I have a blast when I'm not playing. I'm marching up and down that boat, seeing who's playing, or just and hanging out. And it's just if you're a rock metal fan, it's one of the greatest hangs ever.
I love that. I saw a few months ago. I saw, speaking of bands from Texas, I saw King's X here because I had interviewed Doug Pinnick, and I
Dude,
was like two or three people that were like, "Hey, I think I know you on Facebook," and it was great because I actually made a couple of new friends. There you go.
yeah,
So I mean, that was
yeah,
an example of it.
oh yeah,
You know.
oh yeah. Um, it's the same way. Like excuse me.
And obviously that's the press, that's the record label, that's Dave and Cleopatra saying, listen, Tom, you got to make sure you talk about that new album. You got to make sure everybody goes December 12th.
That's it.
Demolition has to be your stocking stuffer. And like I said, that's what you're getting there from the label.
Yeah. But the other thing is I got to meet some of my heroes on the boat, some guys that I really respect, like Akira Takasaki, from
Oh yeah.
Loudon. Um, because they kind of keep the bands on the same floor, and so you can kind of tell where the bands live. And about two doors down, I kept hearing somebody play guitar, and I'm like, man, that sounds like Akira. So,
Wow.
one day I'm out in the hall, boom, bump into him. And then, the next time I see him, we're playing another, so every time I get on the cruise and they're on there, he and I get to hang out for a little while. It's great just getting to chat to folks like that. And there's just so many, and you meet other guys that, you talk to that you've toured with, and they're on there. So, they're located on the other side of the country. You've lost touch. You get to hang out and talk to them.
Oh,
It's a good
absolutely. And
chance.
also, we're going to see you guys next August. And we had talked about this off the air at the Mountain Music Festival. So you're going to be there as well. That's another great festival.
Man,
You
and
and I
that's a
spoke
great.
about that.
Well, it's great, and you want to go if you're a fan of rock and metal music, and you like to see wildlife. Come to Gatlinburg. You can watch 400-pound bears cross the street 15
Yeah, I'm in
feet.
New York City, Scott. We're not getting that. We're not really getting that
Well,
in New York City.
well, I've got the coyotes and the crazy hogs and all the crazy roadrunners and wildlife out here in the boonies where I live. But I'm sitting there literally looking at chain link fences that bears have torn apart, merely to get a empty taco bag. So, but it's and Gatlinburg's a great place. It's a fun place. It's a very scenic, and then you put the music on top of that. You can't go wrong. It's just a great time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's we love that, and obviously it's great that you guys will be out there. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, which I thought the band had absolutely deserved, and I know that Jason had spoke about it on his show, the Talk Louder podcast. You guys at the beginning of this year got inducted into the Metal Hall of Fame, and talk to me, Scott, about what that meant to you in the band.
Well, if you look at the folks that are in there, and now you're considered a contemporary of those folks, or that folks thought enough of you to vote you in. Um, it's pretty awesome. I mean, it's cool. It's an acknowledgement of the work and the time and the effort we put in and the love that we put into it. It's not just a business to us. It's basically I don't do anything all day long. I get up. Somebody just asked me in another interview. It's like, well, what's a day in your life like? Well, I wake up with one or two or three of my 150-pound dogs crushing me, and then I play guitar, think about guitar, build guitars, write music, play music, record music, and sometimes I'll sleep 3 hours a day. So, you know, so putting all that effort in and having the love for the music and getting in there, it's very special for all of us. It's a
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
But I think I think to be in the Metal Hall of Fame, and I think with some of the people that have recently got inducted, you think about Ricky Rocket, obviously. You
Yep.
think about KNAC, which by the way, KNAC is back. I heard a few weeks
Yeah.
ago because I'm in the KNAC group Facebook page, and to you were some of those contemporaries, some of the other people that are in the Hall of Fame. I know Paul Diano is in there from Iron Maiden. I mean, some of the Megadeth guys got inducted recently. Jeff
Yeah.
Young, for example. So I
Yeah.
kind of feel like it really is a testament to what the band has done and continue to do. LA Guns is in there. I mean, so I feel like it's a really important thing that you guys definitely earned.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think Jeff Young likes me.
Well, he's not. Oh, I don't have Jeff Young on my podcast or my radio station yet, so that's a good thing. So we'll make sure
No,
we
no,
don't
it's
ask.
it's okay whether he likes me or not. We were sharing a dressing room,
Oh,
and I introduced myself, and I guess they didn't seem to like us being in there as well. I could be totally wrong. He was nice to Paul.
yeah, I don't
Always
know.
nice
I
to
mean,
Paul.
I
Uh,
mean, I don't know.
I
I mean,
I was looking at his guitar. He was holding it, and I touched his headstock. He's like, "Don't touch my guitar, dude." I'm like, "Hey, man, all right, whatever." I was just curious
uh,
about it.
well,
But hey, all happiness and all good vibes to him. Hopefully,
yeah, no, I mean,
hopefully he'll see
obviously,
this and know that I didn't mean anything by it.
no, no, and no, and we certainly, that's not what we're trying to achieve. But I do think that it was absolutely well deserved that the band got into the Hall of Fame. One of the reasons that I bring it up because I have something special for the band because I do think that the band should continue to be honored and recognized for all the great things that it's done. Because for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, you guys are now also in my Hall of Fame. In my
All
Hall of
right,
Fame. Yes, in my Hall of
all right.
Fame has
Thank you.
WWE wrestlers in there. It has Mark Farner of Grand Funk Railroad, King's X, and LA Guns, and Mark Kendall, who I hope is feeling well of Great White,
Yeah,
and
I,
Brian
I
Damage
hope he
Force.
comes out of that really
He's a
well.
good man. He was one of the nicest people I've ever interviewed. I mean, you'd obviously be number one, but he was right up there. I mean, he was just really, what a nice guy. And he was talking to me off the air about the Dodgers and the Mets, and he was talking to me about
Yeah.
just everything. A great guy, and I'm really praying for him. But you guys absolutely deserve to be in my Hall of Fame, and I want to give this to you, the physical copy, when we're off the air. And I can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for music and just the
Oh,
the community, and this is for you guys.
oh well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you guys definitely deserve that, and we're gonna continue to plug Dangerous Toys because they have a brand new album coming out, and again, it's next Friday. It's Demolition. There are 2 songs out, and I'm gonna put the links up for that as well in a minute. So we want to also thank Cleopatra Records and our friend Dave Thompson for setting the opportunity up here. And I did want to go back and ask you about making the self-titled album and Hellacious Acres because you work. Speaking of metal icons, you worked with Max Norman, who we know produced some of the biggest Megadeth albums, worked with, Ozzy and what was it like with Max Norman? And then you worked with Roy Thomas Baker, who we know from Queen, The Ultimate
Yeah.
Sin with Ozzy. I mean, what was it like working first with Max Norman?
Well, let's take Max first. Max is my buddy. You couldn't love a guy any more than that. That was my first record, first time being in a real studio. I've been in studios before, but I'd never made a record. And Max was a real mentor to me on a lot of things. Kept me from overplaying, which I'm really happy about. Um, and he is an actual engineer producer. He's the real fucking deal. You'll hear about all these other guys that are producers.
Sure.
Don't twiddle a knob, can't patch anything into a bay. Max is the full package, and uh, that first record wouldn't be what it is without him. We had the songs and stuff, but there's a whole lot more that goes into it. The mix and um, you know, getting tones
Right.
and somebody there that's there to be like your brother to help you and to say, hey, I think you could do that take a little better. Or in my case, going, hey, you don't need to do that again. Are you sure? That's fine. I'll give you another track, but I think you nailed it. I think you got it. So he's both of those things. He's and he has a killer work ethic. The guy worked and it's evident. I mean, listen to anything that he's done. You know, my, two of my favorite fucking albums. You know, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman.
I was gonna say, I mean, Blizzard of
Then
Oz
go
and
on
Diary of a
to
Madman. Yep.
go on to Loudness, go on to Lynch Mob, go on to uh,
He
Megadeth.
worked with Megadeth. He worked on was Rust in Peace. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. It was Countdown to Extinction and Euthanasia. I mean, you think about
Okay.
that. Megadeth's biggest album to this day is Countdown to Extinction. And Ozzy, I mean, you think about Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman, how important that was, not just for him, but heavy metal. Randy Rhoads, I mean, and he worked on those albums. And then you guys get him with your album and the success that you guys had with that album also. I mean, that's a huge album to this day.
Yeah. Well, I just like to say this. Look at those first two Ozzy albums with Randy and Bob
Yep.
Daisy and Lee Kerslake and Ozzy. Um, how much better could it be? I mean, and then you include Max in the mix, and that's
Yeah.
every time I put that on, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man, this is great. uh,
For
so,
sure.
and with Roy Thomas, dude, he was a great fucking dude as well. Um, Total English bloke, just like Max, but Roy brings the fun. That's all I can say. I mean, we would go out and eat with him, and same thing with Max. But Roy was more of a party guy. Now he was pure producer in the fact that he didn't really twiddle knobs so much. He might bump up some faders and stuff, but he had when we worked with him, he had an engineer with him. But he would hear something from across the room and just go, "Hey, do that again." Oh no, no, here, fire track up, put that in right here, and you do
Ah.
it, and you're like, oh shit, he hears you bumbling around or messing, tuning up a guitar. He's like, what are you doing right there? Oh man, so right here, man, let's slide this in. That was Roy. Just he would tell me stories about doing Bohemian Rhapsody, about where they're running the tape around bar stools on the bottom, so because they were doing so many loops, and they got to a point, and he's like, I could damn near see through the tape. So that's when we had to stop and start transferring, over to 2 inch. So another really great guy, and again, look at all the stuff he did: Cheap Trick, Journey,
Yep.
Queen.
He
It's
worked
gone.
on The Ultimate Sin for Ozzy also. He worked on
Yes.
that album.
Yeah. Yeah. Great
You know,
guys.
absolutely. Oh, for sure. I mean, an absolute legend, and you had the opportunity to work with him. I wanted to ask you this question because I don't think you get asked this a lot, and I get a lot of different people on here. My platform is a very interesting one. It's not the typical one that you'd probably go on for heavy metal or hard rock podcast or radio shows, whatever you want to call them at this point. But I get a lot of wrestlers on here. I get a lot of different other people. And I was curious, Scott, because you've had a lot of success and you've obviously been somebody that's continued at it. But if you had any advice for any up and coming musician or anybody else, what would it be?
Practice your craft. Have fun. Um, don't let naysayers get you down. You're your best judge of your music and what you want to do, and do what you want to do. I know folks that are musicians that hate being a musician because they're jazz guys and they're in a wedding band and they fucking hate it, but it pays the bills. But like I always tell them, it's like, okay, dude, so you're a jazz guy and you're in a wedding band. You're not digging ditches. You're not picking up dog shit for a living. You're not having to collect cans to make a living. You've got a
Yeah,
roof over your head. Be appreciative of what you have, but strive for what you want as well.
sure.
Basically, you can do both. You know, I know plenty of guys and bands that work a day job and they just can't wait to get out and play. And those are the guys that I think are going to succeed. And whether you succeed financially, whether you succeed by whatever your definition of success is, as long as you're having a good time and you're making your way through life and you're not harming anybody else, fucking just have a great time and enjoy it. Life's
Absolutely.
short. Life's short, man.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely that, and I did want to ask you also in terms of I know you've done a lot in your career, and I was so curious about this. But is there one or two moments in your career that stands out most?
Well, yeah, I mean, just
Anything in your career, whether it was I know you've toured with Judas Priest and Alice Cooper, the first tour with the Cult and Jason Bonham, or the
yeah.
success of the first record, or the Metal Hall of Fame, or anything in your career. You've done a lot over the past nearly 40 years, but is there any one or two moments that stand out most for you, Scott?
When we received the contract to sign for our first record, and there's a pretty hefty contract with money and all sorts of stuff. When
Sure.
I saw that and I saw the places I had to sign, that hit me. That hit me really hard. Like, wow, man. Then seeing our first album come out plastered all over all the local stores, that hit me. When I'm standing outside with my guitars and my bags, and my fucking bus pulls up. You get on the fucking bus and you're like, Jesus Christ. And then you're standing, whether you're in a club, I can still remember the first big arenas with, the Cult. I'm standing there looking at Billy Duffy and Ian and everybody and going, is this fucking real? Hanging out with Jason Bonham on the bus, talking about his dad, talking about him, hanging out, talking to Rob Halford, hanging out. I'm over there messing with Matthias Jab's guitars.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
yeah,
we opened
yeah.
up with Scorpions. Don't think I wasn't back there looking at his fucking amps, guitars. I'm notorious for that.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah. That,
opening for Motley Crue, I'm picking up and running around with Mick Mars guitars. One of my favorite things, or another one, was when we were on tour with Alice Cooper and Judas Priest, and I want to put Lemmy in there, hanging out with Lemmy. I
oh
was
my God.
there. Lemmy's on my bus. We're fucking hanging out. Lemmy's in my dressing room. All of Motorhead's in Dangerous Toys dressing room. We're back there jamming. It just blows your mind.
That's Lemmy. Crossed over into wrestling famously. Lemmy was loved by everybody. Lemmy, I mean, he
And
was just such an iconic figure.
well, Lemmy was Lemmy, and that was it. And he's,
Yeah.
and I'll leave you with this one on that last deal was, Glenn Tipton's brother was his guitar tech, Gary
Okay.
Tipton,
Yeah.
and I was hanging with Gary, and Gary would knock on the bus and go, "Is Scott there?" And I'm like, "Hey, yeah, what's up?" He goes, "Oh man, Glenn and Alice are playing golf. Can you come check his rig?" Fuck yeah. I'll go over there and play on Glenn's rig. And then, David Wolf was KK's tech, and he opened it up and let me pick up every guitar that was in there and play it.
Man,
So all
yeah,
those guitars you see and heading out to the highway, and you got another thing
you got
coming, and
another
any of
coming.
those videos, dude, I played those guitars. I played on them. I played
Yep,
through their rigs. It was insane.
yep, yep,
So
yep.
there's a lot of those.
Turbo and Painkiller. Yep, all that
Oh,
stuff.
oh yeah,
Yep.
oh yeah,
Johnny Be Good. Yep, yeah, I remember all
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Point of entry. It's crazy to me. That Priest and Alice Cooper are still going. It's almost like it's the time machine. It still hasn't stopped. They're still out there. They just finished a tour together. I mean, Priest
And,
and Alice Cooper looks like the same. I saw a photo from I don't know, maybe like 89 or 90 with you and the band and Alice
yeah,
and Alice looks the same. He hasn't aged.
he looks the same, and he sounds fucking fantastic.
I know. I just heard his
And
new album a couple of months ago, and it's like this guy hasn't. And he says
no,
he's not retired, and he said he's not retiring, and he's not
good.
stopping anytime soon. I
Well,
think he may live forever. I'm convinced
well,
Alice
I
Cooper's
hope
living
so.
forever. Me
I
too.
hope. But Rob and Alice both sound fantastic, and those guys are 100% live.
And the show they put on, firsthand. I
Fantastic,
mean, they're putting on.
fantastic.
They're not just standing there with the instrument. They're
No,
going out there, and you see the theatrics, you see the vocals,
well,
you see that intensity. And these guys are doing it. They're doing it better than people half their age.
because they fucking mean it.
That good point. That's a good point. That is a good point.
They
I would
fucking
certainly.
mean it. They're the real deal. You know, um, so let's talk about Alice for a second. We when we toured with them, I would stand on the side of the stage just so I could see all the magic tricks, cutting the head off and all the crazy stuff. And I was there when Rob was being pushed out on the bike, and he hit the top of the door and knocked him out cold.
Oh wow.
We were on that tour, and I was like, holy shit! But I would stand on the side of the stage and watch those guys, both of those bands, every night. Every night, I would dodge. My tour manager had an interview for me. Nah, dude, I'm not missing the intro to Alice. I'm not missing Judas Priest coming out. I'm not missing Motorhead. You want an interview from me? Go get Jason. I gotta watch. I'm gonna watch this show, and you
I
guys
don't blame
watch
you.
it.
Listen, I don't blame you. You toured with some really good bands. The Cult has always been a band that I always loved. Firewoman, and I mean, I just always loved the Cult. And you toured, and we know famously Ian Astbury for a minute was trying to fill Jim Morrison's position. I mean, that was
Yeah.
another thing years back. I mean, you toured with some great bands.
Well, and Ian can do it. Ian is
Yeah,
a fantastic singer, and
absolutely.
that's another one. I remember being the first night of the Cult tour, and I'm watching. We had played, and Bonham had played, and I'm watching those guys come out and being right. That was my first time really being in a big arena, watching their big Iron Cross come down, watching their lights, and I'm like right there with them watching it. Amazing stuff. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're very honored here for a few more minutes with the one and only Scott Dalhover of the band Dangerous Toys. I hope I got that right, Scott. I want to make sure I got that right there. And Scott is now not only in the Metal Hall of Fame, he's in the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And his band Dangerous Toys has some new music coming out. The album is Demolition. It's coming out next Friday. There's 2 singles out right now, currently Rock Shock Cowboy and Rattle My Cage. You can hear them on YouTube and elsewhere, and also purchase the album via the Cleopatra Records website. You can also go to the band's website, which I would highly recommend you do that. You need to go to dangeroustoys.us. That's dangeroustoys.us. You can check out the band, all their information, also on Instagram, also on X, Facebook, and we're here with Scott for a few more minutes. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally. We're all music and wrestling writers. Scott, I got to ask you, obviously, we're really excited about this album, and we expect you, right? We're going to see more tour dates for the album other than the 2 festivals we know. So that's something the band wants to do. We want to tour more in 26.
absolutely. We tend to do a bunch of fly dates, so we'll,
Okay. Yeah,
we'll
Mark Kendall had talked about that. Mark had
and
talked
I
about
think that's
those.
the way to do it now. Um, when you don't have uh, the giant backing of the days of yore, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know, it costs quite a bit of money to throw up a bus and a crew and go out and
Yeah.
play versus jumping on a plane and doing a Friday, Saturday thing.
Right. Or a Saturday, Sunday, or
Yeah,
maybe a
whatever,
Thursday,
whatever,
Saturday. Yeah.
whatever, whatever it is you want to do. I think next year we're going to string some fly dates into some ground dates into some fly dates, but we'll see. The logistics have to work out, and
Sure, but I think with the new album coming out, I think there is that possibility for the band to get out there. And I know you've played some dates, throughout the year, but I think there's an opportunity now with new music, and I think people, want to see you guys. And I think the songs sound great. I mean, I have a feeling the songs are going to sound even better than the two songs we've heard out now. So I mean, I think that's going to give you guys that also, that fire to go out there. And we know you guys kill it every time you go out there. Every time I was watching a show you guys had on YouTube from when you guys play at the end of June, and it was like, man, I just want to see this band in my neck of the woods. I really want to see you come to New York.
Well, we're gonna try. We're gonna try. Everything. Again, it's logistics, and
Sure.
unfortunately, we have to turn down more gigs than we play.
Right.
It's not like we're asking $1 million to play, but it has to work out.
Sure, no, I get that. I mean, listen, I had on Doug Pinnick at King's X, and they're sort of that fly-in band too. They'll play, maybe they'll do 2 or 3 shows in a 4-day period, and then you'll see him again in a month or two. I get the logistics. Mark Kendall, when he was on here, he had explained that, and he talked about because Great White did a whole thing with Slaughter this past year. I had Phil Lewis of LA Guns, and they did a run with Tom Kiefer of Cinderella. So I get that. I get the logistics of it and such, and I think we're go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah. Just to reiterate your point, if it can be done, we will do it. And,
Sure. No, I totally get that.
I have, you know, if we want to go out and do 2 months straight on the road, here I am. What else am I going to be doing?
Yeah, it's tough. No, I get that. We would actually, when I was talking to, I had a wrestler on here who was in the WWE. We were talking about the way it was to the way it is now, and and it was the same with you guys. We were kind of comparing the rock world and the wrestling world, and in the wrestling world, they would go out there and wrestle, say 30 days of the month, 27. And I was saying, well, in the rock world, you would tour back in the 80s and in the early 90s, you would tour for like 22 days in a month because you were just on the bus. And, those days, I don't know if anybody wants to go back to those days either. I mean, those days we were kind of talking about, at least now, maybe it's better to do the fly-in dates or to do, sporadic amount of shows in a month because, to do 20 plus days a month on the road, that's not easy.
We did more than that.
I figured.
Yeah, we did way past 300.
Yeah.
One year.
I think the first album you did like 300
first
and
couple years there was like 2 months a year that I was home, maybe. You fly home on a weekday, like, hey man, we're going to be 2 days off, so that's Sunday. I fly out Sunday, I come back on Tuesday, or whatever, and I'd do that again in a heartbeat. I just need a bigger bus, or just a bus for me and my, me and my 2 dogs, and we're there.
I got to ask you before we let you go. Is there a band that you'd like to tour with that you haven't toured with yet in your career with the band?
Man, there's way more than one.
Oh, well, give me a couple. Give me a couple.
Well, you talk about King's X.
Yeah. Oh man, one of my all-time favorite bands.
We played a show with them early on in our career before either of the bands were signed.
Right.
And I think we were on right after them. And I was watching those. There was a couple bands. Then those guys came on, and I was like, holy hell! I went out there and watched their whole show, and I was like, God damn, those guys are good.
Oh my God, I just heard them live in Doug Pinnick's bass rig, his setup. My goodness, I was like,
how talented is that guy? Pretty talented. But
yeah.
And so I King's X and Toys Tour, two vastly different but kind of the same kind of music. There's those guys, and there's bands that I like. They're like Metallica or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of bands that.
Well, another band from Texas. I mean, Pantera obviously should take you guys out on tour. Pantera, another Texas
Yeah,
band.
I have a funny Pantera story. So before we got Jason in the band, um, we had a girl singer, and we were playing. I think it was Savvy's or something up in Dallas, and this is before, our, right before or right after Pantera was signed, and we were up there, and there's nobody in this club on a fucking Thursday night or something, and Dime and all the guys were there, Vinny, and Rex, and everybody was there, and dude, they moshed to our entire set, and they hung out with us. And another time we came back after a tour, we're doing some club dates after the arena, and they came out, and we just had the wildest time with those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
All I'm going to say is Daryl had a dime bag. I still call him Daryl. So Daryl had his video camera out, and things ensued in
And
the
it's we're
club.
coming up on the 21st anniversary of his, unfortunate, what happened there in Ohio. I mean, it's this, kind of a
Well,
sad thing.
Daryl is my John Lennon. I
Yeah.
sat
And he passed away on Lennon's death. That's the other
yeah,
scary thing,
and that's the thing, man. I remember exactly where I was sitting, exactly what I was doing, and exactly what I was thinking when I got the call that he had been shot and killed.
I'll actually tell you this, because when my dad was alive, he was a musician. When he heard the news about Dimebag Darrell passing, what he wound up doing was the next day he wound up buying a Dimebag Darrell guitar in honor
Oh,
of Dimebag Darrell. That's how he was. We were all. I mean, I was a big Pantera fan. Pantera was a band I followed. On bass guitar, one of the songs I used to play was Cowboys from Hell. I was and I'm a wrestling fan, and there was a wrestler, Rob Van Dam, would come out to Pantera's Walk. So I was. I
right.
was a Pantera fan instantly. So that death to me, shook me up. People talk about Hendrix dying. People talk about Janis Joplin. People talk about Cobain. But to me, Dimebag's passing, unfortunately, was the one that, and we're coming up on that anniversary. That's, that hits me a bit.
Well, I've got three or four that just put me down. One of the first was Stevie Ray.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny. I was talking with my guest, Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, WWE wrestler, was talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yes, absolutely, yes.
Well, in our wardrobe case, we have, and I have it now. Fuck everybody else, but I have the autographed picture he gave to us.
Wow.
I have that. We used to carry that in our wardrobe.
He died in '90. You guys were on
Yep,
tour for the self-titled album in '90. Yeah,
yep,
it makes
yep,
sense.
yep. And we came to rehearsal and we didn't play one damn note. It's like we were like, man, we just sat around and talked about Stevie, and that was our day. The other one was, Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie. I actually remember where I was when Eddie passed because
Yep.
it was right before my birthday. I was out going for a walk during COVID, and I was walking like miles away from my house, and then I heard on Sirius XM it was Eddie Van Halen has died. And I stopped what I was doing. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's just
And Lane Staley was one I have to bring up too, because I remember I
that
read that as a kid. I was just getting into music in 2002, and that
uh,
Lane was another one that did hit me a little bit.
I think we were on the Cult tour, and and I still have the T-shirt. I'll have to find it. Alice in Chains came to our show. They were brought by the label, and I
Yes,
remember,
because you guys were both on Columbia.
yeah,
Yes, because when
and
you were out with the self-titled album, they
yeah,
had just come out with the not self-titled, it was Man in the Box.
yep,
Facelift.
yep,
Facelift was the album. Man in
yep,
the Box was the single. You were out first, and they came out about like 9 months later. Yeah, it makes
yeah,
sense.
and they gave Jerry and I talked a little bit about Eddie and some other stuff, but then they gave me this "Who the fuck is Alice" shirt. I still have it. Apparently, I'll never give it away or sell it. Apparently, it's quite the collector's item. it,
Yeah, well,
so
those things are worth something. Those things are definitely
yeah.
worth something. But
Well, there's nothing better than seeing a fan show up. We have folks show up in 30 and 40-year-old T-shirts that you've seen that they've worn and loved and aren't going anywhere soon.
I have a few shirts that are 20 plus years old, but in the meantime, we're obviously honored to have you on here. And before I get to closing thoughts, is there anything else that you want to promote
in addition to the band's new album coming out and the 2 new singles? Anything else you want to promote out there? I know you do some other. And are you cycling still? Are you still doing cycling?
Now look how fat I am these days.
No
I'm not,
comment.
I'm
No
not
comment.
145, 150 pounds. No, I did cycling for quite a while during the grunge era, and that was my passion and my hobby. And um, somebody once said, "Hey, man, you train like it's your job." Was lucky enough to race on like the AT&T cycling team. Non-pro, but it was lots of fun. But I do have another band. It's called Legion of the Dog. Uh,
Yes, I know Legion of the Dog. Sure.
yeah, and that album is just about finished. I think I'm about 2 weeks away before I start final mixes. That's also going to come out on Cleopatra, uh,
Yes.
probably February, March, April, something like that. So, and that's kind of if Toys was a progressive rock band.
Ah.
I don't know how to say it, but if you mix ZZ Top, Van Halen, Dangerous Toys,
Yeah.
and uh,
Well, I'll tell you what.
a
When the
bunch
al- when the
that
when the album comes out, because obviously I do different things with Cleopatra. I've done a bunch of things with them already. Lorraine Lewis has been on here. I had
oh
Dave
yeah,
himself, and I definitely I'm gonna have you on back in a couple of months to talk of the album. So I mean,
sure,
I'll be here to talk about it with you in a few months.
absolutely, man,
That'd be
absolutely.
great. I'm looking forward
It,
to that. Yeah, I'm excited about that, and it's an honor. Before I get to close to us, to have you on here because I always like look at myself and go, wow, people that I as growing up when I was a kid in Brooklyn, New York, I never forget my parents' CD collection. They had this massive CD collection, and one of the albums they had when we lived on 78th Street in Brooklyn was Hellacious Acres. And I remember looking at the front and the back of the title, and here we are all these years later, and you're here on my platform, and I'm really humbled by that. So thank you for what you've done for the music industry. Thank you for everything. I'm looking forward to this new album. I'm very excited. I'm going to buy it for somebody here in my chat, and I'm going to give you the floor, give you some closing thoughts. I'm going to put the band's social medias up one more time, and take it away, my friend.
well, I know you like wrestling. I think I used to watch it when I was a lot younger.
Yeah.
Um, that was the thing to do back then. This was before cable TV and
Well, in
all.
Texas, I mean, you were a hotbed for wrestling. If
Well,
we're going to really go down that road, I mean, I have many
well.
wrestlers from
Hey,
Texas that I know.
when I was a Boy Scout, we used to park cars for wrestling. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Uh, I have never felt so small in my entire life. It,
You should see what I put up with every night on my platform. I probably know, no joke, about 1,000 wrestlers. I mean, I see wrestlers come on that are like 6'5", 6'6", and I've had and WWE ones. I mean, every
well,
night I
I'm
get
not a
wrestlers on.
I'm not a small dude, and
I know, I seen. Neither
even
am
at
I.
15,
I'm
even,
almost 6. I'm about 6 foot, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, I'm good.
yeah.
I'm good.
Well, dude, I remember Andre the Giant walking by me and giving me a pat on the shoulder and a wink, and I'm like, that is the biggest fucking human being I've ever seen in my
Well,
life.
my guest that came on, earlier, Jim Brunzell, was in a car with him, and an officer stopped him on the road once, and he was drinking
Ha.
a 6-pack of beer, and he basically said to the officer, "I'm just going to keep drinking,"
Well,
and the officer didn't do anything.
well, lucky for him, right?
Yeah,
What
well,
what
I
what's
mean,
he gonna
yeah,
do with Andre? What are you gonna do, dude?
nothing. There's nothing to do with
You got to
Andre. No,
call a
there's
Ryder truck to come get him.
no. Andre was, in his own thing, and if you messed with him, he could literally, kill you. So I don't
Well,
blame you. No, wrestling's a lot
listen
of
to
fun.
Hulk Hogan talk about how deathly afraid he was of him. Uh,
Yes, he was. He was very afraid of him going in even to the match
and
at
Hulk
WrestleMania
Hogan was
3.
a
Yep.
fucking monster, man.
He was 6'9" almost. Yeah, Hulk
Dude.
was my guest knew him was actually very good friends with him for about 40 plus years. Yeah, Hulk, I'm still chubby. Hulk and Ozzy died from days with apart. How
Yeah,
about that? Ozzy and Hulk die within 48 hours of each other. That's crazy.
crazy.
Yeah,
But
crazy stuff.
but
Crazy.
that's the other thing, parking cars and stuff like that for wrestling. I got to see the Von Erichs.
Oh, I watched a movie on them last year.
I,
Yeah, I watched it.
I need to do that. And then my all-time favorite guy, ever since I was a little kid, Bruiser Brody.
Oh, the Bruiser Brody.
Bruiser
Yes.
Brody, man.
One of the toughest men ever. Yep.
Yeah, just that guy was. Another thing that scary looking dude. I got to say 3 or 4 words to him. It wasn't much. Such a nice guy. He was just a
Yeah.
nice guy. Scary as fuck looking. Especially
Well, they're
for
very
me.
big men and they have a certain way of doing things. But,
Well,
I've been fortunate. They have got me the following to speak with you. And I would not be here talking to the big names like yourself without my wrestling community and my wrestlers that have gotten me the thousands and the follower threshold and all that stuff. So it's great that we've had the bands, but I wouldn't have any bands and people like yourself here without my wrestlers. I want to thank all my wrestling companies, all my wrestling fans and everybody else, and I'm certainly Cleopatra Records. So I want to pass the baton to you, give you some closing thoughts, Scott, and anything else you want to plug, share, or say. And the floor is yours, my friend.
well, thanks for the award. I'm gonna forward that on to my band guys so they can have it as well. And thanks
Absolutely.
for having us on or having me on. And I look forward to talking to you again in a few months. And
Yes, Legion
uh,
of I'm very excited about that. Very excited
and
about that.
if you have my contact info, if we're anywhere near you, hit me up and I'll make sure you're on that guest list.
I
Posted.
would like that. I was disappointed. You're gonna laugh because I did get to see King's X at the Gramercy when they played here in Manhattan, and I got a free ticket, but it was not the way it should have been. But the manager of the band is a friend of mine, and I told him I was showing up, and then he read the email like 3 hours later, and then I was like, "Well, I was there." He said, "Did you have to pay for a ticket?" I said, "Nah, there was somebody I knew, and I'm not gonna say it on the air, but I got in." And so yeah, if you guys do play out there, I know Phil Lewis of LA Guns and I were talking about it, but unfortunately he played just outside of New York City, so it didn't really work. He was in it was Long Island they were playing. So it was just
Okay.
unfortunately it was out of my way. But I hope in 26 you guys get out this way. But I know until then, I can't wait for Demolition. I am very excited about this.
Thank you.
I am very excited about your new music coming out in about 3 months. And thank you for everything. We'll give you that physical copy when we're off the air. And congratulations on the 2 new songs. They kick ass, and can't wait to buy all of it next Friday.
All right. Well, thank you for having me on. It's been great.
You got it. That is the man, the myth, the one and only Scott Dalhover from Dangerous Toys. He's the guitarist of the band, and the band has a brand new album coming out next Friday via our friends over at Cleopatra Records. You can also check out the new singles. They're out on the band's YouTube page. Also, Cleopatra Records has a story on it. You can also follow the band on Instagram. You can also check them out on Facebook. Scott's on there as well. Please support the band. We are very excited about the 2 new songs out, Rock Shock Cowboy, Rattle My Cage. More music to come from Scott also with his band, Legion of the Dog. We'll be back here in a few months for that. But until then, thank you, everybody. And like, share, and subscribe this. Support the band on all of its social medias. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one, Global Radio, and it is Sports by Radio, with all music and wrestling matters. Thank you.